Hi, I'm Mike Rossi from Wild Wonders, and we're here today to give you a very special reptile show. Now, usually we go live to places like daycares and summer camps and libraries and birthday parties, but because of this pandemic, we're going to bring our show to you. And what's going to be different about it is that we're going to show you some animals we usually don't bring to the shows because either they're bigger or they're scarier. And we're going to start by telling you a little bit more about reptiles and their tools. Now, you know, tools are very important to be successful. Think of a fireman who runs to the fire. They have an axe and a water hose, right? But if they didn't have that, they wouldn't be very successful, would they? A dentist with his toothpick and drill, they can't do their job if they don't have tools. So reptiles have been very successful with their tools for a long time. A lot of people think reptiles are, if you ask someone, what do you think about a reptile? They might go, oh, it's scary or sneaky. Well, I wouldn't think of reptiles as sneaky. I would say they're survivalist. And that's because of the tools that they have. They've been here a lot longer than people. So let me show you one guy right here. This is a Sulcata tortoise. And these guys are found in Africa at the southern range of the Sahara Desert where there's a lot of grass. They love plants. It's an herbivore. Herbivores eat plants. And these tortoises here, they are very big on digging. Look at those front legs. Those legs are for digging for sure. And these legs are used to dig deep burrows. Now these things are the third largest tortoise in the world. They can grow up to 100 pounds. And so imagine a big bull male making a hole in the ground. A person can crawl into it. It's a big burrow, about 15 to 30 feet deep. And these guys know that in the middle of the day when the sun is high, it's hot. So they use those tools to dig a deep burrow and get away from that sun so they can cool down a bit, get a little moisture. But that is pretty cool. That's a reptile for sure. So what is a reptile? A reptile is an animal that's cold-blooded. That means whatever the air is, that's what they are. Take a look at this guy. This is a leopard tortoise. Leopard tortoises come a little further south than the sulcatas, and they have a little bit more trees and forests to hide in. But again, they're herbivores. They love the plants. Look at those big front legs. Okay, they're not too much, or they're not too big on digging, but they don't mind getting down under the ground a little bit to get away from the heat. And a reptile is cold-blooded. That means if it's 90 degrees, they're 90 degrees. If it's 60 degrees, they're 60 degrees. And so another thing about reptiles is that they have scales. Now these are scutes on the shell. This shell offers protection. You know, there's a lot of big animals in Africa. You don't want to get stepped on by a zebra or something. So these shells kind of protect them. All right, so that's a reptile. Let's go ahead and show you the difference. Oh, before I go, I'll show you his back foot. You know, when you say something's a tortoise, their back feet are like elephants. And they're very flat and round. Okay, but that's not a turtle, you know, even though they're cousins to the turtles. Turtles love the water. So let me show you an animal that loves the water. This animal is a turtle. We call her Booger. Actually, it's a him, Booger. And Booger is an alligator snapping turtle. Now, I think I better grab my gloves before I pick them up because it's kind of scary. So let me grab these gloves. Let's go back over here. All right, pull this one out. All right, come on, Booger. Be nice to the public. All right, here we go. Ooh, that's an alligator snapping turtle. Now, talking about tools, I'm going to get down on one knee because he's heavy. This alligator snapping turtle lives in fresh water. They're out west, in the Midwest. They love the big rivers and the lakes. Some people might find them closer to Florida, but these guys here are animals that love the water and they eat fish. Now this turtle is too big to go chasing fish. So he's got a tool in his mouth. His mouth has a tongue that looks like a worm. Let me see if I can open it up. It's kind of cold right now. It's in the morning. Oh, look at that mouth. You don't want to get bitten by that mouth. Out of all the bites in the animal kingdom, the crocodile is number 1. The hippopotamus is number 2. And when this guy gets over 100 pounds, you want to put your hand or foot in front of that mouth. You see his tongue? I don't know if you can see that, but it looks like a worm. and he wiggles that worm. He just opens his mouth. He sits at the bottom of the river. He wiggles his tongue. Fish come by and they say, oh look, a worm in there, and go right to it. Free lunch. That's a tool. That's an adaptation. If anything looks like a dinosaur, it's those guys. Let's walk over here and we're going to change the channel and talk about lizards. Lizards are also reptiles. And lizards, quite a few here in Florida, but there's a few that have been introduced recently that don't belong here. I'm going to start by showing you a friend of mine. You might have to come around and look on the side. And you can see he's kind of hiding down there. Now it's cold. So reptiles just want to hide when they're cold. But he's hiding under the log because he's waiting for that sun to hit his cage. And this iguana will wake up and he'll come out and they'll sit in the sun. All reptiles, they got to sit in the sun, absorb that energy, warm up, and then they can eat. So the iguana will sit in the sun and then head to his food dish and he'll eat what's there. And the thing about iguanas is that they're not native to Florida. They come from South America, Central America, and because of the pet trade and things like hurricanes that may knock things down during the storm, animals escape. And because of that, you'll find live iguanas near Homestead, all the way up the west coast of Florida. And these iguanas are taken over. It's what we call an invasive species. So let me show you another lizard. And this lizard here I just caught on the property. There are hundreds of these things all over the place. They're called brown anoles. Now he's fast. Maybe because he's cold he won't jump too fast, but I'm going to try to take him out for you. Whew, that wasn't too bad. And this is the brown anole. The brown anole, or the brown chameleon, come from the Bahamas or Cuba. And a long time ago, maybe they took some rides on some ships here to the Florida Keys. They jumped off ship and they have been spreading ever since. They love the Florida Keys. When I was a boy, I used to walk down there and see the brown anoles scattered all over the place. But now they've spread up all the way through Florida and even into southern Georgia. This is another invasive species. Now these guys have another tool of their own. You know, they know that they are food for many things like birds and snakes. Okay, and they have a special tail. Oh, he just tried to bite me. Oh, you're a naughty little one. See that tail right there? If a snake like our Florida black racer sees this lizard, he'll go after it. And because the tail is in his way, he'll grab the tail to stop the lizard. But the lizard's got a plan. That tail breaks off and the snake stops to eat the tail and the lizard goes off. Now he'll grow a new one, and that's pretty cool, but it never comes back as pretty as the first one, so please don't go breaking lizard tails. But that is a pretty cool adaptation for these lizards. Not all lizards can do that. The iguana can't do that, but most chameleons can. And we're going to let him go back on his branch. Thank you, Mr. Lizard. All right. And you know, we have about, it seems like 8 feet. There's one of those lizards, especially the bull males. You know, they sit there with their big flags and try to attract the ladies towards them. And they do fight if they get in each other's territory. It's kind of funny to watch sometimes. Here's another little lizard I want to show you. He's a little slower and a little friendlier. This is a popular pet. They call these leopard geckos. And leopard geckos, well, the boys get a little bit bigger than this. And they also have a tail trick. I wouldn't say it's sneaky. Again, survivalist. Look at that tail. Look how big that is. That's almost as big as his head. If a snake comes up to this lizard, he doesn't know if that's the tail or head or that's the tail or head. And to make it harder, the gecko will wiggle it like a worm. So the snake gets distracted, grabs the tail breaks off. Lizard says, you can have my tail, I'm out of here, and he'll grow a new one. And that's pretty cool. His tongue is so long it can reach up and lick his eyeball. All right, well, you're a cutie. This is a little girl. All right, so we'll put her back. Good job. Thank you, Miss Gecko. All right. You know what? There's other reptiles too. Let's change the channel again. A lot of you are probably looking forward about snakes, so I'm going to go ahead and